Hello, friends. This is Scott, and it's October 23rd, and look what's happening in our mountains. Tonight's the night we're going to get our first frost. And so the snow level hasn't reached the valley floor yet here in Salt Lake City, but it's coming, and I've got to get to work. But I'm going to show you a quick tour of the garden before the freeze. Now, here's where my little raised bed, my worm raising bed that I now use for garlic. And I haven't planted any garlic, but I've got it all ready. So I'm going to plant garlic still. It'll be the latest I've ever planted it, but we'll see how it does. Now again, this is the day before the frost, and so everything is still green and looking lush. There's the Asian pear tree, and then this is the dwarf peaches that we're looking at right now. And as we come around the corner, there's a festooned apple, and this is a big apple tree that, again, I've neglected, as I've neglected much of this yard as I've been down at the hobby farm working down there, and as well as the school garden. But this is kind of the good, bad, and the ugly of the end of the year. But it'll look a lot different because I'm in that cleanup phase here shortly. I'm going to give you a quick narration as I'm walking down the yard. There's the other dwarf peach tree, and there's some tomatoes right there. And as I turn the corner, there's the pear tree that has full-size pears on it. And as we walk down this pathway, we have horseradish, and then we have lots of sunflowers. Now, I did feed black oil sunflower seeds to the birds, and as you'll see, they've planted them all over the yard, and I just let them go. So it'll look different once I clean it up. But here's my sad-looking raspberry patch. Again, the horseradish and some tomatoes. But the raspberries have been dying back, and so I went ahead and planted an elderberry in here, and I'm going to see how that does. It's the shortest plant there against the fence. And I'll be planting other things there to see if maybe the raspberries just ran their course, or the roots from the neighbor pine trees are starting to kill them off. And the chickens are doing great. They've enjoyed this long warm summer. But as you see, the chicken yard's a little lower as I've been pulling material out to take it down to the hobby farm. So they can actually walk under the house now, which is nice rather than having to stoop. So I'll continue to be pulling material out of here, but right now I'm going to be loaded up with all kinds of produce or spent plants. Now the pond that I put in this year is looking good. The bamboo is out of control, but the pond is doing well as are the goldfish, and they're growing big, and we'll see how they do over the winter. All I'm going to do is just have the bubblers going all winter, and we'll see how they come through it. I don't know how long I'll be feeding them. As long as they continue to eat, I'll continue to feed them until it gets too cold. Now, here's some of the raised beds that I built with the wall block, and we still have kale there, and we have Brussels sprouts. And the Brussels sprouts are the slowest growing plants. I mean, the plants seem to grow big, but they're not putting on any Brussels sprouts. And I'll show you a close-up here in just a second that they're starting to form, but they're a cool weather crop, so I think they'll still put out a crop, but I hope it warms up again so that we can get these Brussels sprouts finished off. The one good thing about them finishing off this late is the bug pressure won't be there. You know, aphids love Brussels sprouts, and they'll be killed off by now. So hopefully we'll have a good crop eventually, but again, we have more tomatoes throughout the yard, and they're still producing. I'm going to pick every green tomato I can of any size. The apple trees are still, everything's holding their leaves. I mean, nothing hasn't got cold enough for them to even change color yet, but that'll be changing. And that's a zucchini, a yellow zucchini, and we have some sweet potatoes right there in the front and some red cabbage. And again, the sweet potatoes will die off tonight, and so I'll be picking, if there's anything there, I'll pick those soon. The red cabbage can stay. They're a cold weather crop. The green beans, though, I picked a bunch yesterday, and these will all be dead probably by tomorrow. So didn't get a lot of beans, but I had at least a pretty good harvest for the end of the season. And as you look at that big orange thing in the back, or I should say medium-sized orange, that's our volunteer pumpkin. That's didn't quite get all the way orange throughout, but I'm going to pick it today because it's time. But it's a cute little pumpkin. And again, it was volunteer. I did not plant that pumpkin. So now the apple trees, the espalier apple trees, this one still has apples on it. So I've got to get these picked today. You know, they'll be sweeter because it's been colder, but I want to get them picked before it hard freezes. I don't think it's going to be a super hard freeze tonight, but it's going to be getting down below 30. I know that. Looking at this little espalier apple, still have fruit on this one too, and they're nice fruit. So I'm going to pick all that's on here, which I think there's 2 or 3 left. And then my main espalier didn't produce anything this year, but it looks good. The pruning job held up. Now this is the volunteer pumpkin that crossed over the potato bins, and so I've got all the potatoes to pick, or most of the potatoes. I've only picked a couple bins, so still have that to harvest. And there's tomatillos, and I planted one tomatillo, and once you plant one you're going to have them pop up everywhere. So I'm going to be harvesting tomatillos, and that'll be another video. But I've got lots of tomatillos on here too. I'm not sure if they're all mature, but we'll show that in a later video. As we scan up again, we've got more peppers and tomatoes as we walk up the hill here. And let's see what else we have here. Well, those are the tomatillos again. I'll give you a closer look at those. Tomatillos are kind of an interesting little plant, or at least the fruit is. They look like little shriveled up balloons, and then as they mature, they fill up to the point they drop off, and then the skin slough off, and you have a nice tomatillo. Now here's some chilies, some Thai chilies. I planted most of my peppers in the earth boxes. I'll show you here in a minute, but there's still a few peppers around, and there's some other peppers in here along with some tomatoes, and again another look at the bean trellis, which did make it all the way to the top again this year. And you see the mess of sunflowers through here. But amongst this mess, we have some good stuff. So let's take a look at what we got to get picked. Now you see the rhubarb, and you'll see the Egyptian walking onions are in the background. And those are leeks. They're in a barrel, and they're not ready yet. They're still, I could pick some, but they're small. So we'll see. They're a cold weather crop, so we'll be okay with those. We'll leave them in. Now there's the Italian parsley. It's doing well, and so I'm going to pick all that today, and we're gonna eat that up. And this is a new plant this year. I've never grown bay leaves before, and it did well. So I'm going to, my wife uses bay leaves a lot in her cooking with any Italian recipes, so I'll be picking those and drying those. As we scan back around, take a look at the mess of the bottom of the yard. And as we look back up, we see more, take a closer look at the Egyptian walking onions. And I didn't pick them this year. I just let them go, and they've walked. So I've got little plants popping up everywhere. So these will be transplanted. I'll take them down to the hobby farm, and we'll start a new bed down there. Now the raspberries along the fence line have not done well, and so I'm starting to build up the soil again, and I'm going to plant some different berries in there probably. But it's getting awfully thick in here. And to the right there are blackberries, and they thickened up really nicely. But again, the birds planted the black oil sunflowers all over the place. So it'll look really cleaned up once I pull those out. There's the compost bin that I showed you when I screened compost the other video a little while ago. And the grapes that I cut all the way down are out of control again, so I'll be pruning those back. And next year I'll actually get a crop. So excited that that we'll have grapes again next year. So there's a little asparagus. You see some fern-like on the wall there. Asparagus didn't do really well in my hugelkultur beds, but there's the blackberries, and they're doing great. Now we're going to scroll around there's the fairy garden, my wife's fairy garden there. It's a mess, but yeah, we'll start again next year. Now we're getting on to my paver patios. There's the mint in the barrel that I planted. I'll be pulling that out, but my paver patios are looking pretty good. The wife got the blower out the other day and blew off the patio, so it's looking better than it did. And we're coming down to the whole fire pit area, so this is an area that's going to get a lot of use in the very near future. I've had, I think, one fire is all I've had this year, but I like sitting on the patio here, and it's that right temperature to start having fires, so I'm looking forward to that. Now here's the earth boxes with all the peppers in them. There's hot peppers and green peppers and just a miscellaneous kind of concoction of peppers. So that'll be, again, another video. I'm going to pick all the peppers, and we're going to freeze some and dehydrate some, and there's some cayennes. So there's lots of good peppers on here. So we're going to dry them, make pepper flakes again. And so it turned out good last year when we did it, so I'm looking forward to it. So scan back around over the patios, and this is this evening, early evening, and the snow's here. So I don't know if I'm ready for it. I know the school garden isn't and the hobby farm isn't, but we'll do the best we can. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll be showing you lots of videos of harvesting stuff and cleaning stuff up at all my locations. So stay tuned for a lot of content here in the next little while. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel, like, share, and comment, as I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.